This still doesn't look like much. We have this nicely formatted static version already made. We've all cloned it. We have it on our local machines. We started putting some of the CSS from there into this just by putting it on main.js. We did it as this little object and then used the style prop. We could do something similar to make the rest of this look better. So let's try starting down that road. Let's make our sidebar look better. It looks very crowded right now. So, over here, I have my chat static open. Let's look at static.html, see if we can find the sidebar in here. Here we go. Aside class sidebar. And that's all of this stuff. So we can make our JSX match this a little closer. For the moment, I can copy and paste it. I'm just pointing out that this is how I'm doing it because just maybe you'll have some homework to do more of this kind of thing. So sidebar, all I have right now is props username, so that's not anything. So I'm just going to take aside class sidebar, div class sidebar. Doesn't make much difference. We can use the aside. Why not? So I'll just copy all of that. I'll paste it in here. I actually wanted to get rid of the div. Replace it with the aside. Now I've got a bunch of classes instead of class names, right? So I can find and replace that. Find what? If I just put class, actually that's probably okay in this one, but I want to put class equal just to make sure it's the prop that I'm changing. So change that to class name equal. What? I will momentarily. Okay. So then I replace all. Yep, let's put this in Slack. And yes, I will put the version before I change class to class name so you can practice that. Okay, I changed that. What else is going to have to change here? Do I get any errors? I do. The style prop expects a mapping from style properties to values, not a string. So I've got this background thing here that isn't working. So I'll just get rid of that for the moment. If I save that, okay, now it's there. So my markup is updated. It's just not styled. But that's a step in the right direction. Now here's my username. So I don't want that to be hard-coded Davy, do I? That's where it should say this.props.user.username. I'll go ahead and put that on multiple lines so it sticks out a little more. Cannot read property user of undefined. I said this.props, but this is not a class, is it? It's a stateless functional component. So it is just props.user. There we go, Maggie. Looks like I'm using Font Awesome here. But I don't have the Font Awesome script included in this app. Other than that, the rest of this, that'll do for now. So let's try to make Font Awesome work real quick. In our static HTML file over here, here's that script tag that I copied off of fontawesome.com. So I could just put that script tag inside index.html. That seems legit. It's the one HTML file I actually have in this project. where our empty element that we replace is. So I can just put it up here in the head. I will paste that in Slack as well. So just put the script tag in the head of index.html. And there's my icon. But the whole thing still looks kind of hideous. So let's try to deal with that. Luckily, in this static project, I have actually already separated the CSS files by some guess as to what the components may someday be. So here are my styles for sidebar. So let's see if we can make these work. Now, on main, this was easy because it was all just one thing. Now I've got some children also styled. I've got an H1 inside sidebar styled, and I've got this, which means any element that is a direct child of sidebar gets this style. So I'm going to have 3 styles. No problem. Inside sidebar.js, let's go ahead and make our styles object. Const styles equals a JavaScript object. And I'll just give it 3 properties, 1 for each of those rules. So I'll say sidebar colon is something. I'll say children. That would be this rule. And then I'll just make a rule called H1. So for sidebar, I want background, excuse me, not capitalized, background camel cased color. I can't quite just copy and paste these, but I could start with copying and pasting. It might make it a little easier. So here's the CSS file that you can copy and paste from. So instead of background hyphen color, it is background capital C color. Instead of a semicolon at the end, it's just a colon. Just a comma, just a comma, just a comma, just a comma, just a comma. And these other values all these values need to be strings. So let's turn them into strings. And flex direction will need to be camel cased. And I'm hopeful that that will do something. So let's see. Now I've got styles.sidebar. So what I want to do is up here in my JSX, for the actual sidebar itself, I'll add a prop called style, and I will set its value to styles.sidebar. So just the property of that styles object that actually contains the styles for this element. And I'm hoping unexpected token, expected comma. So I forgot my colon here. Remember, this is not actually CSS. This is a property. This is its value. Fix that. And now I at least have some color and a little bit of style in the sidebar. It's not finished by any stretch, but it's better than it was. So the children we want to style like this, padding 0, 1 rim. So padding the string 0, 1 rim. That means no padding on top and bottom, 1 rim of padding on the left and right. I like my trailing commas, so I'll put it there, even though there's nothing after it. And what are sidebar's actual children? This div right here, the H1, and this nav. All the others are grandchildren or greater, right? So because I used the greater than sign here, I'm only styling the immediate children. So on user info, I'll add that style prop. Style equals styles dot children. That's what I called it. So I also want to do that to the H1. And I want to do it to the nav here. What's that get us? These things are no longer hugging the sides. It's an improvement. Then we have one for H1. So that has a color, a font size, and a margin top. So color, the string white, comma, font capital S size, the string 1.2 rim. In other words, 20% bigger than the default font size. And margin top, again, camel cased, 0. And 0 I don't need to quote, that's an actual numeric value. Ooh, here's a conundrum. Style on that one is already set to styles.children. I still want it to receive that rule, but I also want it to receive my H1 rule. What can I do about that? I can't just like separate them with a comma, because that would be the JavaScript expression styles.children styles.h1, which is not a JavaScript expression. That makes no sense. It'd be cool if I could make it an array, but I doubt it. Let's put an array in there, say styles.children styles.h1. And this thing is hugging the left, and it totally didn't change size. So that just didn't work. It's not complaining about it, but it doesn't work. It's complaining about something else, but that's okay. Don't worry about this for right now. It's saying links must not point to just hash. Use a more descriptive href or use a button instead. That's temporary. They're not really going to be hashed long term, so we'll just ignore that. So what can I do here? What if I put an actual object literal inside here, which would mean 2 sets of curly braces, right? Not 3. 2 sets of curly braces. So now I'm actually putting my style object inside this prop. And I want all the stuff out of that children rule and all the stuff out of the H1 rule. So remember the spread operator, and we can use it on objects to make copies. Excuse me, we can use it on arrays to make copies of arrays. We can also use it to get all the individual properties out of an object. So I can say ... styles.children, comma, ... styles.h1. Now, if I just said this much, that would just make a copy of that object, right? Just like we can make a copy of an array using that, we can make a copy of an object using this inside curly braces. But all it's really doing is grabbing all the items out of there. So I can instead just add styles.h1 in there too. Use the spread operator. And now it's styled. I see that it's white instead of just super light gray, and it's indented. So I think we did it. Go us. And that's all that was in sidebar.css. So let's say style sidebar. There's a whole lot of CSS in there. There's some clues here, like chat.css. I bet that's supposed to do the chat component. Chat header, main, message, message form, message list. And there's some others, like metadata. What's that? Well, if I look in static.html, Here's something with a class of capital M metadata. So I think the intent there was that maybe that would be a separate component, and that's the style for that component.